I work at the admissions office of a university in Berlin. Last month, an American student walked in and asked how much our tuition was per year. I told him it was 300 euros per semester. He stared at me, then pulled out his phone calculator. After a minute, he looked up and said, "So that's 600 for the whole year?" I nodded. He laughed and said, "No, I mean the real price." "What do international students actually pay?" I explained that was the real price for everyone. He insisted I was lying. "There's no way college costs $600. That's what I pay for textbooks." I showed him our official fee schedule. He examined it, then said, "This must be monthly." When I told him it wasn't, he asked to speak to someone who understood American students. I've worked here 11 years. He's not the first to think our prices were a typo. An Australian hotel clerk told me an American couple checked in and asked where the tipping menu was. When he said Australia doesn't have mandatory tipping, the wife said that's impossible. How do workers survive? He explained they receive actual wages. The husband responded, "So socialism." They left cash anyway and told him, "You're welcome for bringing real economics here." A Japanese pharmacist shared that an American asked why their insulin cost $30. When she confirmed the price, he accused her of running a black market operation. "In America, this is 300 minimum. You're selling fakes." She showed him the manufacturer documentation. He said, Japanese regulations obviously weren't as strict as America's. He bought it, but posted online that Tokyo pharmacies were sketchy. These stories share something beyond confusion. They reveal Americans discovering that systems they assumed were universal luxuries are actually basic standards elsewhere. Let's explore what happens when American exceptionalism meets global reality. Danish university administrator told me an American graduate student came to register and kept asking when the payment plan meeting was. She explained there was no tuition. He said, "Right, but for Americans." She repeated, "No tuition for anyone, including internationals for PhD programs." He pulled up his American acceptance letter showing $60,000 per year and said, "This is what real universities cost. If yours is free, what's the quality?" She mentioned their Nobel laureates and global rankings. He responded, "Sure, but American degrees have value because they're expensive. That's how markets work." He attended but told classmates Copenhagen's education was basically community college with better bikes. Colleague in Norway processed an American family visiting their daughter. The parents asked about her student loan paperwork. My colleague said Norway provides stipends. Students get paid to study. The father laughed and said, "That's welfare." She needs real financial responsibility. The mother added, "Debt builds character." How will she understand money without loans? My colleague mentioned their daughter could graduate debt-free and save for a house. The father said, "That's not how you earn success. Americans work for their education." They seemed genuinely upset their daughter wouldn't have the authentic experience of crushing debt. The daughter looked relieved. Her parents looked offended that she was relieved. A Swedish student services coordinator shared that an American exchange student came in angry about the free healthcare included with enrollment. "I already have insurance," he said. "I don't want to pay for socialist medicine." She explained it was included in the minimal fees, no additional charge. He insisted on opting out. "I'm not supporting this system. I'll use real doctors." She asked what he meant. "Private ones, who take real insurance." She explained Swedish healthcare is universal. His American insurance likely wouldn't work. And private care was actually more expensive than just using the included coverage. He said he'd pay out of pocket on principle. 2 weeks later, he returned with a throat infection. He'd waited because the free clinic seemed suspicious. The included health service treated him immediately. He admitted it was okay, but still thought having backup. American insurance showed better planning. A French train conductor told me an American couple boarded the Paris Lion. TGV and seemed confused. There was no ticket class called First Class Premium. Elite. They'd bought first class tickets. "But where's the VIP lounge?" the husband asked. The conductor explained first class was the highest tier. "That can't be right. In America, there's always something more expensive," the wife added. "What if we want to upgrade right now?" He explained there was nowhere to upgrade to Their seats were already the best available. They seemed bothered by this. The husband said, "So everyone in first class gets the same service? That's very communist." The conductor clarified that yes, equal service within a class was standard. They spent the trip looking disappointed, as if they'd been cheated out of an opportunity to spend more money for marginally better treatment. A German hotel manager shared that American guests asked why there was no resort fee. He said there wasn't one. They asked about the parking fee, Wi-Fi fee, gym fee, pool fee. He explained everything was included in the nightly rate. The husband said, "That doesn't make sense. How do you make money?" The manager explained the room rate covered amenities. The wife said, "In America, hotels separate fees so you know what you're paying for." "This feels like a scam," the husband added. "What if we don't use the pool? We're still paying for it." The manager noted they were paying one transparent price instead of a low base rate plus endless fees. They checked their bill 3 times, convinced hidden charges would appear. When none did, they left a review. Decent hotel, but confusing pricing structure. Unclear what's included. A Dutch museum employee told me an American visitor asked how much extra the audio guide cost. She said it was free with admission. "Really free?" he asked. "Or free with $20 headphones deposit?" She confirmed actually free, just take one. He looked suspicious. "What's the catch?" She said no catch. They want visitors to learn. He took one, but returned it immediately after, worried he'd be charged. "I know how these things work," he told her. She assured him no charges. He visited the museum, but didn't take an audio guide. Telling other Americans in line they say it's free but watch your credit card. The museum has offered free audio guides for 12 years. They've never charged anyone. He left convinced he'd outsmarted a scam. A Finnish social worker told me an American expat couple came in to ask about daycare for their toddler. She quoted the monthly fee, €280 income adjusted. The wife calculated on her phone, then said, "Per week?" The social worker said no, per month. The husband laughed. "We paid $1,500 a month in Boston. What's wrong with this place?" She explained Finland subsidizes childcare. The wife said that's not sustainable. Someone's paying for it. The social worker mentioned their tax structure supports social services. The husband responded, "Exactly. Taxes. We'd rather pay directly and have choice." The social worker noted they were paying far less overall. The wife said, "But it's government daycare. What about private options for people who want quality?" She showed them quality ratings public daycares scored highest. The husband said, "Still feels like we're taking handouts." The social worker explained they paid into the system through taxes like everyone. The wife seemed uncomfortable. In America, if you can't afford childcare, you figure it out. That's personal responsibility. They enrolled their daughter but mentioned to other expat parents that Finnish daycare felt too easy and they worried it would make their daughter entitled to help. These stories aren't about Americans being foolish. They reveal something deeper. The belief that cost equals value, that struggle proves worth, that suffering builds character. When Americans encounter systems designed around collective benefit rather than individual expense, the cognitive dissonance is profound. They've been taught that expensive healthcare means quality care, that student debt is investment in yourself, that fighting for basic services builds resilience. But here's what these encounters really expose. Americans have normalized exploitation and rebranded it as virtue. They've been convinced that systems designed to support citizens are weakness, that accessible education diminishes degrees, that affordable healthcare can't be trusted. The shock isn't just about price differences. It's about confronting the possibility that an entire worldview might be built on manufactured scarcity. Want more stories of Americans discovering global standards? Subscribe and hit notifications. Next time, Americans abroad learn what vacation days actually mean. Trust me, the reactions are something else.